Good morning, my dear students. In the last class, you have studied the three characteristic features of a living organism, that is growth, reproduction and metabolism. The another two characteristic feature, that is cellular organization and consciousness. So in this class, you will study about the another two. Okay, it is a continuation of the characteristic features of a living organism. So cellular organization. All living organisms, the body is made up of a cell. All living organisms, the body is made up of a cell. You all know what is meant by cell. It is a basic unit of life. Basic unit. Or it is the structural or functional unit of life. All living organisms, irrespective of unicellular or multicellular, all living organism body is made up of a cell. Yes, so that a cell is made up of protoplasm. Yes, protoplasm, and that protoplasm contains the hereditary information, genetic material, which will be transferred from one generation to another generation. And that a cell carries out all the metabolic activities, carries out life processes. If it is a unicellular, what is meant by unicellular? So, organism in which the body is made up of only one cell. If it is multicellular, many cells. So, if it is unicellular, one cell itself carries out all the activities, all life processes. It carries out life processes, metabolic activities. But whereas if it is a multicellular organisms, so there might be tissues, there will be a tissues, or it might be an organ, or it might be an organ system present to carry out different functions of the body. The cellular organization is like this. Cell, a group of cells having a common structure, origin and function forms tissue. A group of tissue having one or the common function forms the organ. A group of organs having one or more common functions, it forms the organ system. And organ systems together forms organism. In some of the multicellular organism, they show tissue level of organization. Body has only the tissues. Okay, that tissues takes up different function. In some other multicellular, there is only organs present. There is only mouth in case of the animals, some animals. Okay, so there is no digestive system. Mouth is present. Yes, only organs are there, no organ system. Organ system level of organization. There are different organ system, digestive system, respiratory, excretory systems. Okay, so we could find multicellular organisms shows tissue level, organ level or organ system level of organization, taking up different metabolic activities, different functions of the body or life processes. So hence the cellular organization is a defining feature of living organism. It has no exceptions. It is applicable to all living organism. All living organism body is made up of a cell. Yes, one cell or many cell, but it is made up of the cell. So hence cellular organization, it is a defining feature of living organism. So the next is consciousness. What is consciousness? You know, respond, or it can also be called as respond to the stimuli. It is the complex characteristic feature, a complicated characteristic feature of a living organism. Consciousness, it is a complicated characteristic feature of living organism. It is a complicated characteristic feature of living organism. Consciousness is defined as ability of the organism to sense its surroundings and respond to the external stimulus or stimuli. Ability of, it is the ability of organism to sense its surroundings and respond to environmental stimuli. First, always the organism has a capacity to sense its surroundings. You can see here, organism have a capacity to sense its surroundings. What are there surrounding it? Okay, so first it will sense, and according to that it will respond, okay, to the stimulus. What is meant by stimuli? Stimuli is a plural form of stimulus. Stimulus is that which will induce some response within the organism. Stimulus is anything that will induce the response, okay, within the organism. So consciousness is defined as ability of the organism to sense its environment, and according to that it will respond to the stimulus. The stimulus might be physical, it might be chemical or biological. So stimulus, it might be physical. For example, when you touch, yes, when you touch the plant called as touch me not, the leaf starts drooping out. Yeah, or you could find the light or a temperature or any chemical pollutants. For example, when in an area where the lichens are being found growing, if the sulfur dioxide content starts increasing, then immediately they will disappear. So they are considered as pollution indicators. They are sensitive to the sulfur dioxide. Okay, so our pollutants, or so immediately when you see any snake or some, they get afraid of even a little organism like a cockroach, animal like a cockroach or a lizard, you will run out. Or if you touch a hot object, you will immediately remove your hand. The stimulus might be physical, chemical, or it might be biological. So according to the stimulus, the organisms will respond. The organisms, in case of higher, we could find higher organism, there are the presence of sense organs. Okay, so due to the sense organs, they have the capacity to sense the surrounding environment. Photoperiod, the amount of the light, the sunlight, the duration of the sunlight within the daytime, it induces, in case of plants, it induces flowering, or if it is in animals, it induces reproduction. So likewise, we can find in case of plants, in the stem, bending of the stem towards the light, and that is called as the phototropism. Light is a stimulus. Okay, so light in case of amount duration of the sunlight within the daytime, that is called as photoperiod. Photo means light, period means duration. So that amount of sunlight within the daytime acts as a stimulus that induces so many responses in case of the organisms like flowering, reproduction, activities in organisms. Earthworm, yes, moves away from the sunlight. So likewise, there are some organisms which moves towards the sunlight and some moves away from the sunlight. And the human beings are aware of themselves. So they are called as self-conscious. So consciousness or respond to stimuli is seen in all living organisms, irrespective whether unicellular, multicellular, prokaryotes or eukaryotes. So we could find that the stimulus that will induce the response. Okay, so how? Because there are the receptor cells by which, yes, we could respond to the stimulus. Okay, so living organism have an ability to sense its environment. According to that, it will respond to the stimulus. So hence, we could find consciousness is the defining feature of living organism. Why it is called as defining feature? Consciousness, it is defining feature of living organisms. Why? All organisms, they have a capacity to respond to the external stimulus present in their surrounding environment. So these are the characteristic features of living organisms: growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. So in the next part of the chapter, you will study about nomenclature. Nomenclature, the term is derived from Latin, where nomen means a name, calere means to call. So nomenclature, it is a system of naming the living organism. Providing names to the living organisms is called nomenclature. Why suddenly we will study about nomenclature, naming of living organism. So you know taxonomy. Taxonomy is a branch that deals with the study of characterization, identification, nomenclature, and classification. So these are the procedures, the steps involved in taxonomy. Whenever a new organisms, living world made up of different types of living organism, there are some organisms which have yet to be discovered. It has, yes. So there are so many living organism. A newly discovered organism. Okay, so how to name, how to put in a specific group. So it is all done by a branch called as taxonomy. A person who carries out all these procedures, they are called as taxonomist. Characterization, first step in taxonomy, it is called as characterization. Study of characteristic features of living organism. It might be external or internal features, morphology, anatomical, histological. So external as well as internal features. So cell structure, tissues, about anatomy, all that. Okay, it is called as characterization. So when a new organism has been discovered, so first we have to study about the characteristic feature of living organisms. So when we know about characteristic feature, we can start describing about that particular organism. Describing of an organism is called as identification. One example I will give, then you can easily understand. You will go to an essay competition. If you know the topic of in the essay competition, so then you can start describing about that. If you don't know the topic, can you describe? No. Yes. Similarly, if you know the characteristic feature of that organism, then you can start describing how it is, how it appears. Whether it has 2 ears, if it is an animal, 2 ears, if it has 2 ears, 2 legs, or it has 4 legs, like that you can start describing. Only when you know the characteristic feature, according to that, you can name. When naming is possible only when characterization and identification is being done for that particular organism. So when naming is over and last is classification, grouping of organism to its respective group or into the category, that is called classification. So now you will study in this class regarding naming of organism, that is called as nomenclature. Nomenclature is a procedure of in the taxonomy. So the term nomenclature was being derived from Latin language, which means, yes, nomen means name, calere means to call. Nomenclature is defined as the process of naming living organisms with distinct names such that organism is known by the same name all over the world. Simple definition: naming of living organism, or it's a process of naming the living organisms with names such that the organism is known by the same name all over the world. So names are of two types. Local names and scientific names. Local names are the names used by or given by the local people of that particular area. What are local names? Local names are the names given by the local people of that particular area. The local names vary from one place to another place. It varies and it is not widely accepted. For example, cat is called as Bekku in Kannada. If you go to the Andhra, it is been called by some other name, or if you move to the Tamil Nadu, it is called by another name. So it creates confusion. The local names creates confusion. Okay, to avoid that confusion, a problem of using the local names, then came a system which avoids all that confusion of using local names, and that is of use of scientific names, and that is called as binomial nomenclature. So local names vary from one place to another place and it is not widely accepted. It creates confusion among the people from different parts of the world. Yes. So then to avoid that confusion, then came a common platform of using scientific names to the living organisms to avoid that problems of using the local names, and that system is called as binomial nomenclature. What is bi? Bi means two. What is meaning of binomial nomenclature? It is defined as binomial nomenclature is defined as the system of naming living organisms with two-word scientific names. The system of naming the living organisms with two words scientific names is called as binomial nomenclature. System of naming living organism with what type of name? Scientific name. And that scientific name should comprise of two words. That is Homo sapien. It is the scientific name of man. So here the scientific name comprises of two components, two words. That is, the first word, it is called as generic name, and second word, second component, it is called as specific epithet. The system of naming the living organisms with the two-word scientific names with the generic and the specific epithet is called binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature was first proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus proposed binomial nomenclature. So these are some of the scientific names, few scientific names. Panthera leo, scientific name of lion. Mangifera indica, scientific name of mango. Homo sapien, the scientific name of man. So the scientific name has two components, yes, and these two components, the first component is the generic name and the second component it is the specific epithet, that is called as species name. While naming these scientific names, there are some rules which has to be followed universally. Universal rules of binomial nomenclature. Yes, and you can see there is some common thing. So the first letter starts from capital, species it starts from small letter. So there are some rules while naming the scientific names to the living organisms. And who will provide this scientific name? It is International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. It is ICZN, which provides the names to the animals. For the plants, it is ICBN. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. For virus, bacteria, there is different. Yes? So these provides names, scientific names to the living organisms. Universal rules of binomial nomenclature. How to name these organisms with the scientific names. The first rule tells that the scientific names should be Latin origin. It should be from Latin origin and should be written in italics. So scientific name should always be in Latin origin. Latin origin. Scientific names should comprise of two components. First component, the first word should be generic name. First word should be generic name, and the second should be specific. Second should be specific epithet, that is species name. First component should be generic name, and the second should be specific epithet, that is called as species name. The third rule tells that whenever scientific names are handwritten, it should be underlined separately or printed in italics. See here, when these scientific names, when if we write in our hand, it should be written and afterwards underlined separately for genus name, separately for the species name. If it is printed, it should be in italics to show the Latin origin. The fourth rule tells that first word genus should start with capital letter, should start with capital letter and specific epithet with small letter. So always the genus first letter should be capital and species first letter Homo sapien is the scientific name. H should start with the capital and S should start with the small letter. So first letter of the genus should always be capital and the first letter of the species should always be small letter. The fifth rule, scientist name should be written in abbreviated form. Weighted form. At the end of species name or specific epithet. Why the scientific name has to be yes, at the end of scientific name the author name should be written, scientist name, because it indicates that that particular organism has been described by that particular person, author name, or it is the scientist name. See here, for example, Mangifera indica, Linn. See here, this is the scientific name of mango. Mangifera indica Linn. See here, scientific name should be from Latin origin. It should comprises of two components, two words. First word represents genus name, second word represents species name. Yes, when handwritten, it should be underlined separately. And first letter of the genus should always start with capital. And the first letter of the species should always start with a small letter. And the author who have been described that particular organism, his name has to be written in abbreviated, short, after the scientific name or after the specific epithet, like this. Linn means it tells that Carolus Linnaeus has described mango tree. Mangifera indica lin. If it is written in abbreviated form, so it tells that particular author or the scientist have described that particular organism. So these are the universal rules of binomial nomenclature. So to avoid the confusion of using local names, common names, so then came the use of scientific names which avoids all that confusion, and that is called as binomial nomenclature given by Carolus Linnaeus, and is important for your examination. It will be asked, write the universal rules of binomial nomenclature. Thank you.